I am going to welcome you in the session of collective bargaining. Collective bargaining, which is properly known from the era when the collective bargaining was the concept first identified by Sydney and the Beatrice in Britain, also by the Gompers in the USA, where the individual employees negotiated directly with a potential employer on the wages they would receive for the services rendered. With the growth of the population, however, and the pace of the industrialization, large number of the people they entered in the labor market, and which brought the several changes, where the employer and the employee they did not find it convenient anymore to negotiate individually at that moment, as well as with the pressure of the time, the variances in the rewards for the services rendered, the ability to push more as a group of the employee part, it was emphasized on the aspect which should be in a middle way to contribute towards the labor market. And because of the two factors where the worker labor trade union grew steadily, both the war and the inflation made the workers feel that the need is to push for the more wages. So the two factors, when they coupled with the fear of the unemployment and the loss of the wages, they gave a further impetus to collective action and the unionization. The growth of the collective bargaining linked to growth of trade union of the employee and as well as of the employees later. So the change in the master-servant relationship because of the Industrial Revolution and the changed workplace environment left the wage earner with few resources to live on while unemployed. So in this we are going to understand about this. The outcome of this session will enable you to understand the effects of the collective bargaining, the collective bargaining process, how it deals with, what are the parties involved in it. Now, what is actually the collective bargaining? A negotiation in the employer and employee, or what I said you in the earlier slide, the relationship which emerged in the master and the servant because of the Industrial Revolution makes the need of an hour to understand who is the employer, why the employer is not satisfying to the employee requirements. That is important, and because of that the emergence of this collective bargaining arises. The negotiation about the working conditions, about the terms of the employment between the employer, group of employer, more than one employee, and the representative of the employees. So in that aspect, the collective bargaining aspect emerges. Process is collective. Collective means where collectively the issues related to the terms and conditions of the employment are solved by the representative of the employees and the employer in the group rather than the individual, right? So this is your basically the aspect or the concept. Now if anyone asks you that what is bargaining, bargaining refers to evolving an agreement using methods like negotiation, discussion, exchange of facts, exchange of ideas rather than confrontation. It's a process of collective bargaining which is totally bipartite in nature, where the two parties are there, employee and employer, and then without the third party intervention, the objective is to come to an agreement. So the process is that divergent, right? And when it is divergent, it comes into the agreement. So it comes into the agreement, it comes into the negotiations. Okay, so this is your collective bargaining. If I talk about what is bipartite process, see, bipartite process where the employer and the employee, they are only the parties who are involved in the bargaining process. No third party intervention is there, where the conditions of the employment are related or regulated by those directly concerned. So this is a bipartite process, or this is basically the aspect or a concept which actually needs to be understood in its proper perspective. It is not merely a replacement of the marketplace which is handled by the group of the workmen with the employer, but is to identify its distinctive nature, that distinctive nature which is basically to a political institution in which the rules are made by the trade union, of worker, of employer, of corporation, right? And here the two aspects of the administration and the legislation are interlinked. So considerable degree of the joint regulation by both the parties and governed by the conversations and the customs at the enterprise level. So this is basically what we say, it's a process, but mind it, it is not an economic process, it is a social economic process. Okay, then is let me discuss about the process which is at the three levels, basically the plant level, industry level, and is your national level. Basically it is at the three levels. So the plant level is, if I say the plant level is basically which is at the micro level. So before that, let me tell you very clearly that the bargaining power is a broad concept, and the factors determined are the taste, goals, motive of the parties, skill in the techniques and the persuasion and the coercion, competition from buyer and seller, right? So now in case of the plant level which is purely a micro level, where the negotiations are conducted between the management of the plant and the union. Now the unions are basically centered on the plant and with the little, or you can say the no involvement I am saying. So there are many plant level agreements, but the pioneer in that field is right now, you can say, the Tata, right? Tata company, and the Tata worker union is there, that is in the Jamshedpur. So all these, they have their workers participation in the management, and with that, or you can say the agreement in the Voltas, agreement in the Volcard, right? All those federations, they have the agreement, and these are at the Modi spinning is also the another example at the plant level. If I talk about the industry level is where several units in the same industry, they brand together and form an association, and that association which negotiates with a union having the similar status, right? So where they have the similar status, the agreements are somewhat broader in aspect, and the level settlements are also somehow specific. You can take the example of Rashtriya Mazdoor Mil Sangh, and in that you can take the example of your Ahmedabad Mill Owner Association negotiation with the Textile Labor Association, right? So these are the genuine examples, and those examples are basically related to these associations are recognized, and their settlement is for bonus as well as for the quantum of that to be paid at each mill or by each unit, right? Next is your national level. Now national level is that the term itself indicates which is at the nation level, where the representatives of the trade union and the employer, they negotiate, they arrive to the settlement, but they give the industry come the region convention in India, at India level, at nation level, and they are very few. And here the tripartite conference convened by the government of India, and certain specific issues have been negotiated and contracted, right? You can you can take the example of INTUC, Inter Can Management, 1951, when they involved in that agreement, I hope you remember, related to the work practice and manning practices, right? And another agreement, I hope, if you agree and if you can recall, of the 1956 agreement, that is purely on bonus for plantation worker between the representative of the Indian Tea Planter Association, right, HMS, Hindu Mazdoor Sabha. So in that it is there, right? So in the next session we will discuss further